Okay, we need to talk about one of the most popular and maybe one of the most damaging pieces of houseplant advice out there. Yep, you guessed it. We're diving into the whole orchids and ice cubes thing.
I mean, you've seen this, right? It's printed right there on the little plastic tag when you buy the plant. It's all over the internet, sold as this foolproof, can't mess it up hack for keeping your orchid alive. It sounds so easy, so perfectly measured.
But here's the big question. Is this convenient little trick actually helping? Or could it be a slow, silent killer that's hiding in plain sight? Well, that's exactly what we're about to find out. So, the whole problem with the ice cube method really boils down to one thing. It completely ignores what an orchid actually is. Think about it. It's like trying to give someone who lives in a hot desert a drink by dunking them in a frozen lake. The logic just doesn't add up.
And to really get it, you have to understand this one word: epiphyte. The common Phalaenopsis orchid, the one you probably have on your windowsill, is an air plant. In the wild, it's not sitting in a pot of dirt. Nope. It's clinging to the side of a tree in some warm, steamy rainforest with its roots just hanging out in the open, waiting for a warm shower to roll through. And when you put it side by side like this, it's kind of crazy, right? On one hand, you have what the plant has evolved for over millions of years: warm rain, humid air, and cozy temperatures. And on the other hand, we're giving it freezing cold water, dry indoor air, and a sudden, shocking temperature drop. It's the exact opposite of everything its DNA is expecting. So let's get into the science of what's actually going on here, because the damage isn't just a little discomfort. We're talking about some serious trauma happening at a microscopic level.
The key phrase here is thermal shock. You know what happens when you pour boiling water on a frozen car windshield? It cracks. It shatters. Well, for the delicate root system of a tropical plant, touching ice is just as catastrophic. Its cells are literally not built to handle that sudden drop to freezing. So here's the horror story playing out inside the roots. First, the cell membranes basically seize up and get hard and brittle. Then, tiny little ice crystals start to form inside the cells, acting like microscopic knives that just shred them from the inside out. Finally, the cells just burst open and leak all their contents. And that's why ice roots turn into that black, mushy, disgusting mess. They've literally been destroyed.
So you might be thinking, well, if it's so bad, why do so many people swear by it? And the answer is pretty simple. Orchids are survivors. They don't just keel over and die overnight. The damage builds up slowly over weeks, even months. So by the time the leaves get all wrinkly and the flowers fall off, you just think you have a black thumb. You almost never blame the ice cubes you were using 3 months ago. Which brings us to an even bigger question. If this is so bad for the plant, why are huge companies actively promoting it? Well, the answer has a lot more to do with psychology than with gardening. It really all comes down to some very clever marketing. See, the number one way people kill their houseplants, especially orchids, is by overwatering them. So the ice cube method comes along and solves that fear by giving you a pre-measured, safe dose of water. But here's the genius, kind of evil part. It also ensures the plant probably won't live very long, which means you'll have to go back and buy another one. It's a win-win for the seller, not so much for the plant. At the end of the day, the ice is just a measuring cup. That's it. It's a way to stop you from drowning the plant. It's a system that prioritizes a simple, easy-to-follow instruction over what the orchid actually biologically needs to survive. Now, I know some people argue that the cold shock helps the orchid rebloom. And look, they're not entirely wrong. Orchids do need a temperature drop to flower again. But what they need is a gentle, gradual drop in the air temperature at night that signals a change of seasons. Freezing the roots with ice isn't a signal. It's a direct physical injury. Big difference. Okay, so enough about what not to do. We've officially busted the myth. So, what's the right way? Let's talk about the gold standard method that actually mimics an orchid's home and will help it live for years to come. It's called the soak and drain method, and it is so easy. All you do is take your plant to the sink, use room temperature water, please no freezing water from the tap, and just flush the pot. Let water run all through the bark and over the roots. Then, and this is the most important part, let it drain completely. Orchids absolutely hate sitting in a puddle. No wet feet. And of course, watering is just one piece of the puzzle. If you really want a happy orchid, remember this golden trio. It needs bright but indirect light, kind of like the dappled sun on a rainforest floor. It needs good airflow to its roots, because remember, they're air plants. And a little extra humidity, you can get that with a simple pebble tray, will make it feel like it's back home in the tropics.
All right, let's bring this all home. We're going to talk about how to check your own plant for damage and really how to shift our thinking to give this amazing plant the royal treatment it deserves.
So if you've been using ice cubes on your orchid, hey, no judgment. It's a common mistake. But after this, go grab your plant and let's do a little health check. Here's exactly what you should be looking for. Healthy roots should be firm and look kind of green or silvery. If you pull the plant out and the roots are brown, black, and squishy, well, they're dead. Also, look for little sunken, dark spots on the leaves where an ice cube might have rested. And here's the ironic part. If the leaves look wrinkled and leathery, that's actually a sign of dehydration because the roots are so damaged they can't drink water anymore.
So here it is. Here's the final takeaway. Your orchid isn't a difficult diva. It's a resilient tropical queen that just wants to be treated like one. It doesn't need a gimmick. It just needs you to understand where it comes from. Give it a nice warm soak instead of a freezing shock, and you'll be rewarded. So please, put the ice where it belongs in your lemonade. Thanks for joining me on this one.